Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Red Shoe Lounge with Louise and Mara. Hi Mara!
Oh my God. Okay, here we go.
It's here. So we are so excited to be here. We have created this space for women over the age of 40 who want to live their best, most exciting life. We wanted to provide you with a platform where we can have questions that explore, that inquire, and encourage you to believe in yourself, to do the things that need to be done, to be courageous, and actually to just dream way bigger than you probably are right now, and know that you can get what it is that you actually want. And I'll share something with you about that in just one second, because Mara, I think maybe we should pull a card for every call, don't you? And
I love it. Yes, pull a card.
I'll tell you what that card is in just one second. So because you are receiving this very first podcast episode in January of 2019, and you said 1919, that would be weird. We want to talk about how you want to feel in 2019. And the reason that Mara and I have done this is we have taken gargantuan steps in the last what do you reckon, about 3 to 4 years?
About 3 to 4 years. Big, scary ass steps. Yep.
Yeah, really started to change our lives. And if you go and find our website at redshoelounge.com, you'll find mine and Mara's story, how we met, where we were when we met, what we were doing, and you'll see just how much we've achieved in a relatively short period of time. And actually, I think for both of us, when we made a decision last year that things were going to massively change, and we took that massive action, you can see how we 10x our results over 12 months rather than it going so slowly. So before we talk about what you want to feel like in 2019, I want to share with you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see the card. But if not, the card that I drew for today's session, which is from Doreen Virtue's Angel Tarot cards, is called the Magician. Right? And you'll see the Magician. It's the number one card, as you can see by the number. It's Archangel Raziel, and it's telling you you are ready. You have the resources or the ability to manifest the resources that you need, and life is truly magical. And that sums up Red Shoe Lounge.
It is the perfect card, and I can't believe you pulled that. It's the perfect card. It's absolutely perfect.
So every week we intend to bring you around about 40 minutes of inspirational content, conversations, and all kinds of things as we evolve. And you can go find it all hosted at Red Shoe Lounge. And we've got our brand new Facebook page, which is going up, which is Red Shoe Lounge as well, common theme going on. So please do come follow us and let's start some conversations. And before we go into it, Mara, let's talk about why we're talking about how people want to feel in 2019. What does that even mean?
So for me, it was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, probably, the last few years, but really the last 12 months or so. You can manifest the things that you want through how you're feeling. People talk a lot about, writing down their goals or wanting to do XYZ, whatever that may be, but they have a feeling, they don't feel it. They have a feeling of, I can't do that. That goal's too big, or that thing's too much, or it'll never happen. And that feeling is what you're bringing forward. So when you can try to place yourself into that feeling of greatness that you're actually looking for, that makes all the difference in the world.
It does, right? So, and I'm going to add on to that because I'm a bit of a science geek.
I love that about you.
I love all things quantum physics, and it's definitely a field that I went into more of last year. So let's just talk to those people that maybe have only heard of manifestation, say through the law of attraction, the secret, right?
Okay.
Where we can sit and we can pretend that we're driving the car and we can write the letters to the universe and write the checks and da. But what you said there was so important, is that you can write about these things and you can write these goals down. But if your feeling is for whatever reason, this is not possible for me, what that actually does is your feelings create an energetic vibration. So just like different radio stations, people are vibrating, buzzing, whatever you want to call it, at different frequencies. And the easiest way to remember that is I'm sure we've all got a friend that we'd rather wasn't one. Right? Because they just suck. the living death out of you, right? So they're vibrating on an energy that does not feel good to you. Whereas like you and I, we get on a call, we're vibrating high, we're on the same kind of like aura energy, what you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so we come off calls and stuff, and we've got more and more ideas, too many ideas, right? So
I can feel you. I can feel you now.
Right across America. So you become, so my saying is you're creating what you're vibrating. I feel like I want to take the G off because it sounds a little bit English. So you probably say it better than me, like, but you're creating what you're vibrating. And so what you're verbalizing, what you're saying isn't necessarily what you're vibrating, because your beliefs are what is causing your vibration. So what I really want to kind of talk to you about today really is like, how can you feel your way into something that you want? So Mara, you said before, like before we got on the call, about that it can be a challenge, right? If you're finding it difficult to conjure up that feeling. So what could we say to people about, like, okay, so you've got this thing that you want, how can they start to get clear on the feeling behind that?
Yeah, so I've struggled with that in the past because when you don't know what that feeling feels like, so you don't know how it feels to reach that goal, like okay, most people will tell you, well, I don't know what it feels like because I haven't been there before. Well, but how would you imagine it would feel? What do you think it feels like? Or go back to a feeling of how you felt when you've had success with something else and conjure up that feeling again, but try to intensify it like 10, 20 fold and have that feeling. Or what do you think that feels like? It's kind of like saying, what do you think freedom feels like, for example? Well, I don't know. It just feels refreshing. Well, what's that feeling? Let that feeling try to rush over you, whatever that is. I just threw freedom out there because that was one I struggled with. Like, that's a word I like to use, but how does that feel? What does freedom really feel like? Well, I don't know, because I felt like I hadn't felt that before, but really in essence I had. So you have to try to conjure that up.
I remember, I can't remember, I was listening to a podcast before at some point. I remember someone saying, if you're telling yourself that you want an emotion, like you want to feel freedom, it's because at some point in the past you have felt that. You just might need to dig a little bit deeper. So what we tend to do is we tend to kind of almost suffocate ourselves with the conscious of with what's being fed back to us now, and we struggle going back into older memories. And I think the other thing around that is, I remember when I very first read The Design Map by Daniela Paul, and she was talking about how her and her husband then used to do like their goal setting in January, and she's like, right, I remember writing down like, I want my Ugg boots and I want to clear my credit card, and she said like none of it felt good, like it was like I'm just writing this list. And then she's like, what if I flip that round and start asking, what's the emotion I'm really searching for in that? So in the purchase of those Ugg boots, what am I going to get?
Bingo. That's it.
And in the paying off the credit card, and I think I'd really encourage anybody that's going to do this now to, I don't quite know how to phrase this, but like, don't kid yourself, right? So when you write like clear off my credit cards or clear off college debt or whatever, and you go just like it's relief, right? Is it relief, or is there more than that? Will there be pride in that? Will there be when you said like freedom, will there be like, will you be able to breathe more deeply? Will you feel more free to go do other things?
Right. Can you sleep better at night? Can you?
There is an emotion behind everything that you're trying to achieve. And for me personally, and I think you're reaching into this because we've done archetype work together. So you know that I'm a ruler archetype top. So I know that I have to be very mindful of not setting goals in my business as a way to make me feel better about myself. Right. To make me feel worthy. Right. We all know that there is nothing external that makes anything internal feel any good. You have to do that work on the inside. Right. And with you being celebrity and romantic, you're very driven to purchase to create an emotion within you.
Absolutely. That's
So
the feelings that I typically conjure up, and that I work on changing every day. Like, I need to feel good even without that purchase or that
absolutely right. So
that, yeah.
this is one of the main blocks to people living a life of abundance, of success, excitement, and something that Mara and I really are keen to tell you is, like, wherever you're at and whatever you want, like, there's no judgment here. We are always going to encourage you to dream massive, and we're going to talk about that in a minute and what happens when you do dream massive.
Please, and dream, yes, and dream bigger than you ever thought imaginable. Like,
Yeah.
seriously. And that's
You know,
that's not easy for me to do either. I got to tell you. I mean, I'm going to be completely vulnerable and honest here. Transparent is the word I like to use, because it's not always fucking easy.
tell me why. What makes it difficult for you to dream bigger than you thought possible? And actually, hang on, no, I want to ask you a different question.
Okay.
Define for me, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean, bigger than you thought possible? Like, bigger than you thought possible for yourself?
Definitely for myself. You know, I have always thought of myself as, you know, my biggest dream was getting my kids off to college successfully. My biggest dream was getting all the laundry done. You know, I mean, I've never had anything much bigger than that. And for me to think of myself as being a successful businesswoman, making six figures, and doing so much more with my life, is kind of hard to imagine. Like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, who am I to think I can do something like that? Who does she think she is what I tell myself. Actually, I'm not even necessarily worried about anybody else. It's myself. It's the all that self-talk. And then how does that feel? Well, I don't know how that feels. I've never felt that way before, but how can I imagine that would feel? That's the feeling that I conjure. How can I imagine that would feel? Because it is my feeling. And that feeling of achievement, and just being able to do that step by step by step. And I have to chunk it down a little bit. You know, I have to, like, okay, what would it feel like to make, you know, $5,000 a month on my own? What would it feel like to make $10,000 a month on my own? And then you can start getting into six figures, right? And just chunk it. How would that feel? And it's not just about those little tiny goals. I can write down all day long, I'm going to make six figures, and just write it down. But that, like you said, you mentioned earlier, that doesn't mean anything. How does that feel?
I mean, there are about 200 podcasts in that, everything you just said there.
I know, right? Woo! We have so much to talk about.
There was something that you said there that I really felt the change in the energy, and it was, and I kind of got a little bit emotional. And it was when you said, like, just getting the kids off to college and just getting the laundry done, and that's all there was for me, right?
Right.
Now, that kind of pains me, because that's why I do what I do today, because I felt just like that. And I was 26 and I felt completely trapped in a life that I had created that I didn't think I could get out of.
Right.
And I felt incredibly sad that somebody that had had so much potential when she was younger had suddenly found herself just in a very, very, very mediocre place, but feeling guilty for not feeling grateful for having two healthy children and a home. But there was something in me that's like, Louise, it's more than that. And I just want to share with you something that happened to me today. So I was on a call with one of my coaches, and we was talking about, Mara will know, and you'll all get to know, that I go at 100 miles an hour in everything that I do. I struggle with taking time back and slowing down. Be still. Well, so I wear this now, and so it's your gift for me.
Yes,
and
this for those of you that can't see, is a necklace that I gave her that says "Be still."
Yeah, so because she knows what I'm like, and she gave that to me when I renewed my wedding vows in December. So very, very special to me.
Be still. Yeah, sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead. No, you go 100 miles an hour.
And the guy that I worked that was coaching me today, we did some coaching together when I was out in Arizona. So he picked up my energy already, right? And I was saying, you know what? And we were talking about where I need clarity and what I want to focus on. And I said, I want to manage my energy more effectively. Like, I want to manage energy in my relationship, and I want to manage energy in how I show up for my business, and I want to manage my energy in like having fun, and I want to manage my energy in having more sex, and I want to, all these things that I wanted to manage my energy, because I said I feel sometimes I'm fragmented, right? And I'm so determined to succeed, going back into that proving a point thing, that sometimes it's easy to forget what's important. And a lot of that is being driven by, yes, I was a single parent. Yes, I was claiming benefits. Yes, in my eyes then, I was a waste of space. I felt like a complete and utter dropout. And
well, I think it's funny that we both, even though I didn't say it, but we both feel like, oh, well, we were just, you know, mothers. Oh, well, we were just, you know,
right?
we both kind of say it, where you got to take a step back. And I think a lot of women our age have kind of felt that way, even if they haven't been stay at home, even if they've worked full time, even if they've been married, whether they've been single, married, or anything, they kind of all feel that way.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important conversation to have, because something that and actually I wrote this down as my mantra of today, is like, I create the level of success in my life. Period. We all create the level of success, happiness, health, wealth, abundance, whatever you want to call it. And so for me, success or wealth encompasses all of that, right? So for me, success is, you know, having lots of fun, and we'll come back to sex in another episode, but lots of sex, which is driving on that one, and you know, and lots of fun doing my job, and lots of traveling and meeting amazing people, and lots of like buying stuff, and lots of helping people out. For me, the feels behind that, going back to what you want to feel like in 2019, that's like, that's expansive to me.
Absolutely.
That's like, I am living, and I've got goosebumps now, like I am living full out in all of those areas, and also that I'm doing that in a conscious way.
Yes.
Right, I'm making a conscious decision that this is how I will show up every day. So I would really like to give a shout out to anybody that listening to this or watching it on YouTube. If you feel like you are, and in inverted commas, just a housewife or just a mother, and you've been doing this for as long as you know, and you don't feel like you've got any money, and you don't feel like you've got any prospects, let me tell you now, everything can change. Everything can change. And literally, it starts with a decision. It starts with a decision that actually you're not prepared to stay where you are anymore.
Right.
Preach. Right?
And everything you said, I was sitting over here going to myself, check, 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 check. Be happy, more sex, more money, to do more things, like to help serve other people. Yeah. And, you know, I have a team of ladies that I work with, and I always tell them, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. Like, get back to the fun.
I think that it's real. And again, this was a conversation I had with my coach today, because he said something and I gave him another action step. He said, Louise, you're not hearing me, right? I don't want you to do any more. Like, it's about, and again, something that we're doing in high performance coaching is talking about generating that energy. So you are responsible for bringing that to the table. Like, if you don't really like cooking, then you have to make that more important to you and more fun to you, because you know what you put in your body is really freaking important, right? So how you're feeding yourself.
Ding, ding, ding. You just hit one for me.
Right? You know, if you recognize there is a gap that is causing you a result that you don't particularly want, this is where me and Mara are here to say to you, like, we're here to support you, but you've got to show up, and you've got to do the work, right? So
absolutely.
So clearly I must have needed to talk about the cooking aspect today, Mara, if that landed with you. So anybody else, and, you know, I've just decided to go vegetarian for January, and hopefully for full term. So I've got to be much more mindful now about what I'm eating, because everything takes longer to cook.
Yep.
But anyway, we're getting off topic. So Mara and I are saying to you, like, what do you want to feel like in 2019? And before we get into the next part of it, what I'd like to offer you as well is, some of you are going to be going, I don't know. Right? Because
if you just take a baby step, though, just take a baby step, just one thing.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're afraid to say it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're saying, I don't know, because you think you can't. Or I don't know because you don't think you can feel it. Or I don't know because you know, what keeps coming up is worthiness, because that's something that I used to work for all the time. You're not worthy. How can I feel that way if I don't feel worthy? Or again, a whole nother subject. But everybody does know. In essence, everybody knows. They do know, even if it's just a tiny step. Take that one little tiny step towards that bigger dream or vision that you might have for yourself.
This is something that, I mean, we'll do another whole episode on this, but this is where people trip themselves up when they're talking about clarity. So particularly when I'm working with women in business and I go like, I've got no clarity. Your clarity is just that next step. And that next step might be, don't open the crisps. Right? That could be don't open the crisps. And then the next one after that is, don't buy the crisps. And then the next one is, go to the Whole Food shop instead of the supermarket or whatever, right? So the clarity is the next step to take you towards where you want to end up.
Right. And how will that make you feel?
Exactly. Or actually, if you don't know where you want to end up, towards where you want to feel. Exactly. Right. So that's that thing. And the other way that I think is a really good way of doing it, and this is how I had to start way back when I started this journey. I was so lacking in confidence and belief in myself that I could have anything other than what I already did. So like I had a lot of debt. I eventually got myself like a crappy little office job. Like we had no money again. And I couldn't perceive how there was something different. And I remember the only way that I could do it was to say, right, what do I have that I really don't want anymore? And what's the opposite to that?
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. How am I feeling now? And what's the opposite of that? Yeah.
So for me, the debt was it was like a heavy like chain around me. The money consumed me, like, because we couldn't go and take the kids out anywhere, and I had to be really careful what I bought in the supermarket. We couldn't buy new clothes, and my parents had to help us out. And it wasn't about just stating I want to have more money. I want to feel financially secure. That was my first step. I want to feel financially secure. Now it's like I want to feel financially. I actually quite like the word rich, because it conjures up like rich chocolate and rich cheese and rich red wine. So I want to feel financially rich. I want to feel financially abundant. I want to feel financially free. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you're really struggling with how do you want to feel, look at where you don't feel great right now and ask yourself, how would you like to feel instead? And for some of you, you won't be able to make that massive gap. You might not be able, you might feel, maybe you feel a bit depressed right now.
Yes.
And what you really love to feel is joy every day, but that feels so overwhelming that maybe what you would like to feel when you wake up in the morning is, I'm okay.
Okay, so I love that. I wrote that down, especially when you were talking about financial security, because I think for a lot of people who are swimming in debt, who don't know when their next money's coming in, or they know that even when it does, it's not going to be enough. How do they feel differently than that? And you can take that one little chunk at a time. Again, a whole nother podcast on its own, but it starts with a little gratitude about feeling what you're able to accomplish right now. That's a great feeling to be able to pay that bill. It's a great feeling to know that something's coming. It's a great thank you for all of that. But starting and just chunking a little bit at a time until you get to that rich part, knowing what it feels like, because for me, it has helped bump me over to that next level each time. Each time a little bit more, a little bit higher, a little bit more. And now I can see it and feel what that's going to feel like to have that 6-figure income, to be able to do that, because I've been able to chunk it down slowly and feel little bits at a time.
I think I've got to kind of speak to this a little bit, because obviously as a money coach, I talk about it a lot, and I know a lot of you are going to go, what a load of crap. But,
I promise you you're not a load of crap.
It's that whole thing of, Louise, listen, you don't know what it's like. Bullshit, right? I do know what it's like. I've had to get secondhand clothes, and I've had to get my parents to buy me food for the kids, and I have had to struggle. But you know what? Even I was better off than a gazillion other people that are out there in this planet. And I want to tell you now, there are statistics that prove over and over again that unless you are below the breadline, there is no correlation between your level of happiness and how much money you've got. It's a big fat lie that we tell ourselves to stop us from being grateful in the moment and from taking personal responsibility. Because if you're swimming in debt because you've got a really nice posh car parked outside and you live in a massive, great big house and you're buying the most expensive food, right? You can change all that tomorrow.
Yes. Amen.
Right?
Yes.
So I have to say that because because I crucified my mental health in chasing money when I first up in business, and realized it didn't matter what I earned, I still felt like crap. Then you realize that the money stuff's all about what's inside of you.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. And I think it's safe to say that sometimes when people make more, they spend more. So
Yeah,
they do have to, you know, that, and that's not even about feeling or anything like that. That's just about making different choices with your money. And, you know,
and but like I say, that's a whole other podcast. But I mean, the debt and money.
Gosh, we have so much to talk about, don't we?
We should hold forever.
I know, right? I know.
Have pee and food breaks and then just come back. Right. So I know we're chomping through it. So we want to hit them all to about 40 minutes, because in that 40 minutes, ladies, you could be working out. In that 40 minutes, you could be cooking yourself a nice meal for your family. In that 40 minutes, hopefully you won't be having sex while listening to us, because that would be weird.
Yeah, please don't do that. I don't want to know about that.
But you could use this, you could be walking the dog for 40 minutes. So this is going to keep it to the point. So what Mara and I decided we wanted to talk to you about was, you can make the decision or you can live with the consequence.
Yes.
So talk to us about that, Mara. How did we come up with that? We were just kind of like chatting, weren't we? And we kind of like.
Well, it was about how you want to feel in 2019. And you did touch on it a little bit about, well, we've talked about feelings a little bit, but, you know, making that decision to have a different life, because everything we've already decided, we are seeing the consequences for right now. Everything we felt. When you feel icky and gross, your consequences are more icky and gross. When you feel great, your consequences are more great. When you spend money stupidly and you make the decision, then guess what happens? You don't have any money. When you, like, it all comes down to whatever you've decided is your current consequence. You know, I mean, that is metaphysical and physical. Like, that's what your thoughts and what you're feeling, you've decided, and that has come into fruition, is the metaphysical, or what people might call that. And then what you've actually done with things and stuff, you know, whether it's, you know, I don't know, spending your money differently or throwing something away that you don't want to throw. There's a consequence for it. It goes away when you throw it away. You know, just it's just a couple of different examples, but your decisions are your consequences.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of things there whereby, you know, right now, some of you are going to feel like you're a product of your past, right? So the beliefs that were installed with your family, yes, we all know that our parents have given us a shitload of limiting beliefs. We get that. But your future doesn't lie in you going on and on and on about that. It's about taking control now. So we're encouraging you to become less of a product of your past and a creation of your consciousness. And by that, it's like, consciousness basically means that, for me, that conscious attention, or the intentional attention to your thoughts and your feelings and your conversations, that's going to create your life moving forward. So it's, rather than being a product, I want you to think about you being a creation. And in that space, you know, we've got these decisions and making the consequences. But another thing that I find that I talk to my clients a lot about is that sometimes they don't take the action because they're unattached to the consequences if they don't, because it seems so far away.
Right. Which goes along with the whole, whatever your big vision is, you have to have that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't detach yourself from the consequence.
Absolutely.
You have to have that feeling and try to conjure that up.
So what we're going to do is, as we kind of wrap this up, we're going to talk to you, we're going to set you a little challenge right at the end, and we are going to ask you to hashtag it as Red Shoe Action. So hashtag Red Shoe Action, and every episode, we're going to just give you something that you can do if you want. We know personally that it works from a personal perspective, and from a coaching perspective, I absolutely know these things work, right? And it's how Mara and I have kind of,
I know these things work too.
even just you and I being here is a product of the energy that Mara and I have put out over the last kind of 4 years together. So, and it's whatever happens, it's still super exciting. We get to chat, so it's good.
I know. I love it. We've watched each other grow. We've talked about this several times, but we've watched each other grow in the last 4 years.
It's just been insane. And you know, we are very, very regular. I would not say normal, but we are kind of regular people from regular places. You know, we weren't born with silver spoons in our mouths. We don't have that. You know, I don't have a university education. Do you?
No, I do not.
No?
I did not go to college.
But what we've got is just like we have now made the decision to live fully, and I can tell you, just that decision allows you to invite excitement into your life every single day.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. So what is our action, Louise? Hashtag #RedShoeAction.
Hashtag #RedShoeAction. We want you to be courageous enough to write out the biggest vision of your life. Right?
Yeah,
now,
I'll do the same. I'll share mine too.
Good. So when you do the #RedShoeAction, I mean, we're not on Insta yet, but who knows? But certainly on Facebook, and obviously we've got our website. So just getting that name around. But basically, one of the ways that you can, people do it in lots of different ways. So people write out lists. I'm not a big list fan, I'm going to confess. And I think the problem with lists is that they don't connect you visually or vibrationally to the desire. Right?
I understand that. I am a list girl, though. You know, like I do kind of like my lists, but I make them too long.
Right. So let me ask you then, how do you breathe life? How do you breathe life to the list?
So what I'm learning is I have to chunk my list down into smaller action steps, right? So because when I say I want to, I don't know, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but I want to create content for a whole year. I mean, really? I mean, that's too much. Let's chunk that down. Let's chunk that down to by month, like by day, or by week and by day, you know, like.
Let me just interrupt. If you was talking about your bigger vision for your life, so if you was writing down, it's a 31st of December 2019 and you was gonna write a letter that I would be able to feel your life. So you told me where you're sitting, what's going on around you, maybe what you're wearing, how you're feeling. Right. So rather than them getting stuck in action steps, if you were thinking about your biggest dreams for the year, right, and you had so this year I will achieve, or I will attain, or I will visit, how would you connect to the feeling of that on a regular basis? Because this is what I want people to do. I want them to write the bigger vision out, but I want them to connect with it at least once a week.
Okay, so I was even going to say once a day, like take a
once a day. Once a day is the optimum. Okay,
so something new that I just started is I have to write. I've decided that I'm going to write out 3 goals a day. And one of those is a big, long-term, big vision goal. So I just write it out. And then as I'm writing it, though, I'm connecting with the feeling of how it will feel when that happens. And then how it will feel not to have to write that out again. Because once I get there, I'm like, ooh, I can go on to that next goal. But that's, again, goes along with that whole chunking down, like, make it small goals. Because I know where I want to be in a year, okay? Yeah. But if I write that goal down, that feels like, oh my God, that makes me so nervous. But I know what the steps I have to take to get there. And so I start with those, and that feels better for me. I know what my big vision is, and I can write that down, and I can feel it, and I can want it, but I chunk it down, and I do the same thing with my lists.
Cool. So for those of you that are kind of new to this, I would like you to do it like this. I would like you to write, it's the 31st of December 2019 and I want you to imagine where you would like to be when you're writing this letter, and you're writing it like as if you're writing it now. So I'm sat in my beach hut, and you know, and I'm in Hawaii, and it's hot and it's balmy, and I've got a pina colada, and I've got a naked
I'm going with you.
I've got a naked man fanning me with a big tree leaf, or whatever you call them, and you know, and do you know what? Like Mara just said there, if she thinks about a big goal, it kind of scares a shitless. We haven't got time to talk about that now. I think we should park that, Mara, but definitely talk through the fact that right now you may not feel like a stretch goal is within your in your parameters. And what I mean by stretch goal is one that really makes you go,
yeah.
what I can guarantee, right, is that if you continue on this personal development journey, you will be gagging for a stretch goal, because anything else will not inspire you into taking action, because it will bore the pants off you.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. But let's start small. So
let's start small. So
we're going to do red shoe, hashtag red shoe action.
Red shoe action. And think about, like, so just think about the major areas of your life. Think about how your relationship is and how that would look if it was 10 times better. Have a look at your physical, emotional, mental and spiritual health. How would that look 10 times better? Think about how much you feel that you're living in purpose, or how clear you are going through your life. Think about your career or your business. Think about, like, your part of being on this planet at this time. So break it down, maybe like mind map stuff out about what you'd really like to have, and then write that as a letter, like it's, and you'll read it back to yourself. Now, let me give you another bit of a thing about this.
Yeah, but we only want a little snippet of it, right? Or do we want the whole thing?
I need to see the whole thing. And
you could share one with us.
You could just say you've done it and you've had this aha moment, or you did it and it felt really icky. Because for some of you, you're going to write it out, and as you're writing it, you're going to go, "This is a crock of shit." Right? It's going to feel really, really nasty.
And it's okay. I've been there too. It's okay.
It's totally okay. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was clearing out some rubbish, and I found a couple of old ones that I wrote when I very first started in business back in 2012, and I wanted to stick my fingers down my throat.
Well, you're gonna have to share some of those with me privately.
And you know what the thing is now is that, talking about feelings again, it wasn't so much about what I'd written. It was the fact that when I wrote it, I absolutely knew without a shadow of a doubt that I didn't believe what I was writing. Right. And that made me really sad. Right. Because I didn't believe in myself enough. And so all of you here, like, you need to kind of really understand that your growth is going to come from you developing the courage to find out just how amazing you are. Because from that space, everything becomes available to you. Right? You won't achieve something first and then feel great. You're going to start to feel great about yourself, and then you'll achieve those great things. So write that thing out for yourself. Do share some ahas, or just even share the emotions that come up for you when you're writing that out, and hashtag it red shoe action for us. Just remember, like, as you're writing it out, maybe give yourself the opportunity to kind of go, why do I want that? What emotion am I chasing? Because here's the other thing. Maybe we should do another one on this. Maybe we should do another one on manifestation. But just quickly, if you understand that the reason that you want to, so Mara wants to go up to the next level in her business and take it up to like 6 figures, whatever, right? And we say, right, Mara, let's nail that down. What are the emotions there that you don't have now? Because here's the thing: if Mara doesn't learn how to get those emotions in her life now, there will always be something in the future. So if Mara says, you know what, I'm going to feel like a queen. Mara, how can you feel like a queen every day?
Every day. Right? Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes.
It might be like she has to get a crown. Like, or a wand. It might be that, you know, she's like, well, you know what? Sometimes when I'm working, I work in my pajamas. And she's like, you know what? If I'm going to feel like a queen, I'm going to actually get a work outfit. Or it might be that she wants to, you know, turning off her laptop at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and luxuriating all evening with, you know, parlor games or, you know, whatever.
Oh, you know me so well. Have that feeling now is the point. How does that feel now, right? And then it will come. It's all about happiness now. Yeah. Finding that happiness now. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. Find that happiness now and conjure up that feeling. And also just going into the kind of the quantum stuff as well, like the universal matrix, quantum field, whatever you want to call it, is like, you know, if you're not in alignment with that, I'm doing the hands now, so you're not going to see me, but if I can see you. You can see me. If your vibration is here and you're like, oh, I'm grumpy, I'm frustrated, I can't see the way forward, so I'm going to just like sit on the couch and eat Haagen-Dazs and da-da-da. And what you're saying, what you're verbalizing is, I want this life of freedom, abundance, health, and da-da-da. You better start up-leveling that vibration. Yeah. And it could be like, it could be for you again, like abundance feels like appreciating the fact that you have a bloody choice every day. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in an African country and you're a slave, you've got no choice, right? Right. You know, if you're one of these poor young girls that gets all kinds of horrible things happen to them, and it's, for me, our responsibility as women in business
is to live our best life and make enough money that we can start helping these other people, like actually move out of those areas. Don't keep giving money to them. Help them find a way out so they can become their
That is like the biggest vision, vision.
Right. So think about this being, at the beginning we said to you, this place was a place to explore, inquire and encourage your best self. How can you breathe life into your dreams? And the first thing is like, if I had a magic wand, what would my life look like? Right. And like, so if Mara was the queen of the world and she had a magic wand and you could just say it, and I'm really going to encourage you to, you know, if you're going to start making a list of things, like I want a bigger house and I want a bigger car, like get a little bit deeper into why that is so important to you. And is there else? So that's what we want you to do. We want you to write this vision of your life, and we want you to kind of register action it and just tell us that you've done it. And you know, hopefully as you start to listen to these podcasts more and more, you'll realize there is absolutely a way for you to make that dream your reality. 100%. Unless you want to fly to the moon, that could be a bit more challenging.
Well, you could probably still do that too, but you got to, like, NASA is totally involved and all that other stuff. So, you know, that's something I'm never going to do. I know that. So it's all right. Gosh, I had so much fun doing this first one with you.
It was amazing. So we are going to be delivering these to you every single week. And as this is our first one, when you come back and, you know, when you come and watch it, there isn't an awful lot of content for you right now, but we are working on it. We've obviously got our own business either side. So it's something that we're doing just really for pure love and from a space of, we believe in you. And even if right now you don't believe in you, we really, really do, because we've been there and we know what it takes. And we know that when you've got somebody in your corner telling you like you don't have time for a negative thought, and you can, you know, you can change your life by changing your consciousness. Like, we're not just talking about it, we're actually doing it and living it.
Actually doing it and living it. You're right. You took the words right out of my mouth.
The words right out of my mouth. Anyway,
it's amazing.
So we will catch up with you all again next week. And Mara, it's been a joy, my darling, and I can't wait to record the next one. And we'll see you all over in the community on Facebook at Red Shoe Lounge.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.